Hey, I'm glad you're here. So, we're going to talk about the critical parts of mindset and as well as what you actually need as the foundation of your marketing in just a couple minutes. First, I want you to get into a mindset where you're just really imagining what do you really want. So, imagine you have an email list of thousands of readers who love your work and buy your books. Imagine that you get that magic 40,000 followers on Twitter that makes every publisher pay attention to you, even the big five. And imagine you get so many sales emails in your inbox that you have to turn off notifications. This is awesome, right? This is where we want to be with our books. Not necessarily for the money alone, but for the influence. All of us want to have our books in the hands of the readers that will enjoy them and that it can help. So there's our goal, right? So how do we get there? Well, is it even possible to get there? Is it possible for you? Well, I tell you what, I have so many authors that have had those same questions, and at the end of the day, the answer was yes, they can do it. Yes. So let me give you a couple examples. So one of my authors, we'll call her Dawn. She was a caregiver for her. She is a caregiver for her husband, her disabled husband, and her mother and her disabled sister. And at the same time, she ran a small business. And she had this book, and she had a dream of being an author. And she sold 350 books, pre-sold 350 books before the book even came out, so that she could finance the entire publication of her book. So, and she sold them at $25 each. So she got a pretty good chunk of change right from the start, and she hadn't even published her book yet. Amazing, amazing story. And she did not, give up any of the other things that she was working on. So let me give you another example. I had another author, we'll call him Ben. So he also did a pre-sale campaign where he sold about 400 to 500 books without even having a book to give people right at first. So there are a lot of different ways to get to these kind of outcomes. And if they can get there without even having the book published, imagine where you can get when you have the book. Or maybe you don't have the book yet in hand. You can get there. This is possible for you. So that brings us to what I call the 4 Ps. Oh, and by the way, I'm Laura Helmling, and I've been an acquisitions editor. I'm a book coach, marketing coach. I have moved out of editing and into really full-time marketing because that's what authors are missing the most. There's a lot of publishers out there who are willing to publish books, and of course finding the reputable ones can be difficult, but most of all, it's the marketing, and authors, you in particular, don't always want to do a junk ton of marketing. So how do you do the most effective marketing in your niche in the shortest amount of time? So that's what we're going to start talking about today. Of course, it's a big conversation, and there's a lot of different moving parts that you want to get into place, and we're not going to be able to do all that today, but we'll get started, and we'll get some good progress, and you'll have something, when you leave today, you'll have something to take with you and implement right away. So let's get into this. Let's talk about what I call the 4 Ps. Okay, here we go. So you should be able to see my screen now. So we want to be ready for the 4 Ps. And the 4 Ps are your 4 critical parts of your mindset going into marketing. And this is, without these 4 Ps, the tasks that you do aren't going to go anywhere. So first of all, do you believe it's possible for you to get the book sales and the influence with your book that you've been dreaming of? Do you think that's possible? So I hope the answer is yes. If it's not, it needs to be, okay? You got to be able to answer yes there. You got to see what's possible, and you got to cling to that, because there's going to be times, a lot of times, when it doesn't seem like anything's working, all right? And yet it is working. And that's where your patience and perseverance comes in. And I'll tell you why. I've got a picture of Disney World here. So Walt Disney had a dream. He had a dream of this amusement park, right? He saw what was possible. And he went to a swamp in the middle of Florida, and he looked at this swampy land that was cheap. No one really wanted it. They didn't know what to do with it. And he saw that was the perfect location for his dream of Disney World. Now, if you were looking at a swamp, is that the first thing you'd think of, right? So, but he saw the possibilities, and because he saw the possibilities, he was able to have the patience and the perseverance to pursue his dream and never give up. So he had engineers come to him saying, this is impossible. We can't make this foundation, we can't make the foundation stable enough for you to build this, imaginary city, this imaginative city, then this world of wonder. You just can't do that here because the swamp is gushy and it's not going to be solid and the foundation could break and blah, 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 blah. So they came at him with all these problems, but he saw it was possible. And he's like, you know what? We can do this. Go back to the drawing board, figure it out. Let's figure it out. And so when one thing didn't work, they tried another and they tried another and they tried another until it worked. And that's what you're going to have to do. You can take the engineering principles, right? The marketing principles, and you're going to have to apply them to your situation. And at first, it may not seem like everything's working just right. Like you just have to be patient. For instance, social media takes a long time to build. Okay. You're not going to have 40,000 followers overnight. You're not going to have it in 6 months. You're going to have it in about a year and a half, 2 years. Don't get depressed about that though, my friends, because during all that time, you're going to be building your influence. And that doesn't mean it's going to take you 2 years to sell your book, okay? If so long as you have a book in hand. If you don't, and you're planning on it and you're writing right now, then now is the time to start your marketing, right? So that you can have that 40,000 followers in 2 years when the time comes to publish your book. If you've already got a book, there's no time like the present, right? Best time to plant a tree 20 years ago. Second best time today. Just get started. And it may not take 2 years. Sometimes you can get 5,000 followers in a month, and there's different techniques you can use to do that. The point is that you've got to be patient in this process. You'll be patient with yourself as well as with the building of this foundation. Okay. So, and then you need to persevere. There are problems that might come up or things just don't seem like they're working, but they should be. You need to persevere. Hold on to the possibility and keep pressing forward. And, something that entrepreneurs say a lot, which is absolutely relevant, is fail forward. It doesn't matter how many times you put out a post and 3 people like it and you're like, dang it, I worked so hard on that. No, you may see that as a failure, but it's not. And so, but maybe you see it that way. So just fail forward, keep going, persevere, and you will find the techniques you need to get that marketing foundation built and have the influence that you want and sell those books. And then finally, pivoting. So pivoting is really the top of our critical thinking here. And it really is different than the other two in that, let's go back to the Disney World example where you've got this they're trying to build a foundation that's solid on top of a swamp, right? So they're applying engineering principles, but at first some of them didn't work, okay? They just plain didn't work. So they had to start over again. And if you find that something's just not working, right? And check in with some experts that some experts in marketing, someone who knows their marketing. Don't check with your other author friends who aren't doing very good marketing either, okay? Ixnay on that, okay? You want to talk to somebody who knows marketing, who knows what works. So when you're talking to a person like that, like a marketing coach or an expert, it could be someone in a group, it could be me, it could be somebody else, somebody that knows marketing. So when you're talking to them and you're showing the situation that is not working, then they're going to say, keep going, it's going to work, or maybe try this instead. If it's a maybe try this instead, that's what we call pivoting. Okay, and it's very important to pivot when necessary. And balancing perseverance and pivoting, that's where you're going to need somebody who knows more than you about marketing. So really make sure you're in community with others that know at least as much and more than you do, okay? So those are your 4 P's, and that your mind, you are the driving force behind your marketing success. And these are the 4 qualities that you need to succeed. Now we can move on. Okay, so here we go. Know your readers. This is the number 1 thing I want you to remember, okay, in your marketing. This is part of the foundation of your marketing. This is number 1. Know your readers. Know their names, their demographics. Are they married? How old are they? What do they do for a living? Know their likes and dislikes. Do they like, do they like, so say that you write historical fiction. Do they also like nonfiction? Or are yours more in the category that they like, just like maybe it's the fiction part or maybe it's romance part? And you need to figure that out. You need to know what they like and what they don't like. Do they like to travel? Very often there's other likes and dislikes that our readers like, and then there's this consensus in that group. So if they like to travel, and part of the reason they love historical fiction is that it's set in other places, then that's going to be important in your marketing beyond your book. Next, and you see struggles there. We need to know their struggles. What are they struggling with? Why do they want to read? And there is the pleasure aspect, but there's also always a struggle or a need or desire that the book is fulfilling. And part of it, at least, is going to be based in the problem underlying, that's really rampant in their lives. There's a problem that they have. So in all of this, what I want you to think of the most is shifting your mindset to what do your readers need that you can give them. Not what you want to get from them. So what you want to get from them is the sale of the book, right? You want them to read your book. That's what you want. That's what you want. That's your need. That's your desire. Your struggle is finding their readers. These are all your struggles, but that's not what's going to sell your book. That's not the foundation of your marketing. The foundation of your marketing is relating to your readers. It's relating to your readers. So the first thing you need to do is dive deep into who are your readers. Who likes books like yours? Right? Not just, every publisher tells you get comparables. What is your book like? Okay, great. Fabulous. But you know what? That's not actually even the foundation of your marketing. That's not really going to help you. It helps them. So what's helping you is knowing your readers, right? If you read sci-fi or if you write sci-fi, your readers are going to be very different from those that are reading historical fiction. Plain and simple. YA, young adult versus adult. Very different. So know your readers. All right. Now next, how do you learn about your readers? Well, just like you get to know anyone, you listen to them. And here are some techniques that you want to start with. This is what you want to start with. Find them on social media and just listen to them. Listen for the struggles. Listen for the needs. Listen for the desires. Listen for why they like the books that they like. Listen for what they are looking for. Listen to them. Get to know them. Next, you want to, in these groups, you want to be a listener in the conversation. So say that you join a readers group, like avid readers of historical fiction. We're going to stick with historical fiction for right now. Avid readers of historical fiction. So you're in this group, avid readers of historical fiction, and your task is to be a listener and to be interacting with them from that place. So meet them in their world. So when you're listening, you're not trying to bring them into your world of your book. You're meeting them in their world. So another example of this is, say that you wanted to offer your readers something that would be valuable to them, which you should do, and you want to do a book club. So don't start with your own book. And this is a really great idea, guys, right? So you know what? If you're watching this right now, you want to write this down. Don't start with your own book. Start with a different book. Okay? Start with somebody else's book and communicate with that author. Make sure that they're cool with it and tell them what they're going to be, and let them know what you're doing. And maybe they'll want to invite their audience into that book club. So now you're growing your influence and you're actually getting to know other authors, and you're having their readers join yours, and you're finding new readers for their book. So they're going to have that relationship with you. You see how this is all building synergy? This is good. Plus, if you're running a book club that's not about your book, you're able to build friendships that don't have strings attached in the eyes of the reader. So you know how it is, right? You're passing a salesperson in the middle of a store, right? You know they have an agenda. You know anything they say to you has strings attached. So if they say, "Hey, how are you doing today?" You know there's a string attached to that. Maybe they actually do care, but there's a string attached, right? It's not just that they care. They want you to look at their thing and buy it. That's not who you want to be. And I know that you don't want to be that person. Like, I have heard that from so many authors, right? You don't want to be that person. So this is how you don't be that person. When you start a book club, start it on other people's books. In fact, you may never do a book club on your book. You may say, you know what? We're not going to do a book club on my book because that is just too much. I'm going to, if another author is doing a book club on your book, great. Okay. See, but you know what? In building those friendships in that book club, they're going to want to buy your book. You don't have to do the book club on your book for it to sell. See how that works? Very cool. Very cool. So next thing here, I've said get to know them in their world. We've already kind of talked about that. When you're in groups and when you're talking to readers. So say that you're doing an event, you're doing a book, you have a table at a book expo and a reader comes by. What do you talk to them about? Here's what you talk to them about. You talk to them about what's going on with them. What are they reading right now? What do they love about reading? Meet them in their world. If it's historical fiction, say, do you know anything about this period of history? Have you ever read books in this period? Oh yeah, I love reading. Or no, I never have. And so, well, what period of history do you like? So, you're not talking about you, you're talking about them. That's where you build friendships, by giving. By the way, if you have an event like that, make sure you have a sign-in sheet, maybe a raffle or something where you can collect their information, right? Because that builds your email list. Psst, that's another really big one. Write that down. So through all of this, what I'm encouraging you to do is to stop talking and to start listening. And talk only when they start finding you and asking you questions, right? Well, maybe in your conversation at that table in that book expo, they're like, well, yeah, what inspired you to write about this period, or maybe they'll ask you something like that. As you're asking them about their world and you're showing that you are interested in them, then they may become interested in you. Maybe not. But one way or the other, you're there to give value to them. So that's all about listening and meeting them in their world. Okay, now I'm going to share one more thing with you, so we're almost done. All right, now the third thing you want to do is share from your platform. Now, the key part of here is from your platform. Okay, so you've gotten to know your readers, you've been listening to them, so they're acquaintances, they're friends, and now you want raving fans, right? So you want to think Disney World. Like, Walt Disney built this amazing place and he invited people to it, right? He didn't just go, it's not that he brought Disney to everyone else. That's kind of like the circus model, which worked for a while, but hey, guess what's not here anymore? The circus. And guess what's still like everybody's favorite place to be happy, right? Or a lot of people, Disney World. So it doesn't always work to go to them and stay there. So using social media or using Amazon as the only place you meet your readers is not going to be sustainable. That's not how to build a sustainable marketing platform. The way you do it is by having a great website, by having social media connections that work, and I've already taught you how to build those. Can't get into the website too much today because it's just too much material. And you want to have things to do for your readers. You want to have events, activities, stories to read, short stories that they can download if they exchange their email with, for the book launches. And your book launch parties should not be about the book. They should be about something related to the book. So if your book is historical fiction, maybe you have a party that is based on finding out different things about that era. If it's online, maybe it's in person, and then you can have a favorite foods of that historical era that draws people in, and it's just fun, right? And so it's not just, ooh, I've got a book out. It's, hey, let's celebrate this era since my book is coming, since it's my book's birthday. See how that works? So you've gotten a lot of information here. Now, what I want to talk about now is, where do you go from here? So now that you have this information, where do you go from here? You can take all this stuff and implement it. Absolutely. You can take all of this and implement it right now. But the other thing I want to share with you is that I have a little course. It's $97. You can see the link for it below. And what I'm going to do in that course is take all of this and make it actionable for you. So how do you build a great website? What are the keys? What are the keys to a great website? What are the keys to great social media connections? Okay, so let's look at this here. It's called the Get Reader System. And this $97 course it's going to give you the fundamentals of your website, your social media, your public relations. So that's your book expos and your, book readings and book signings and so forth. And your online course really and your email list. So you've got to have a website, social media, public relations, and an email list. And you notice it's a car, right? And the reason I chose a car as a metaphor for our marketing system is not because I like cars, because basically I am not a big car person. They get me from point A to point B, we're good. But a car does get me from point A to point B, and it has 4 wheels that help that happen, right? And if I have 3 wheels on my car, I am going nowhere, right? Nowhere. But if I have all 4 wheels, now I'm going somewhere. And of course, the wheels have to be connected with axles, and they have to be moving in the same direction at the same speed. So what we talk about in the Get Reader System is how to get your website, your social media, your book signings and so forth, your traditional media, and your email list working and moving in the same direction at the same time without marketing taking over your life. All right. So, and what's included here is you're going to have 5 lessons, and they're going to be on these 4 pieces, one week on each of these pieces. You're going to have video lessons and a Facebook group to discuss things. You're going to have the weekly emails with downloadables like website templates, how to set up your website, social media, like how to build an Instagram following, without driving yourself crazy. How to set up a book signing table, right? So that you actually coordinate this with all the other pieces so that people are coming to your website and they're signing up for your email list. How do you do all that? And then how to have an email list. Like, what in the world? Right? How do you do this? How to set up a sales funnel. Those are things we're going to talk about over those 4 weeks. And then the last week, we're going to come up with an action plan. Each year, you're going to dive in and create your own unique action plan. So that's the 5 weeks. And that 5-week course is, like I said, it's just $97. So it's a crazy cheap course. And the reason is that books are not, they're like $10 each, right? 15. So I want you to be able to get the foundation of your marketing built, your marketing system built, all right, for price that you really, you can afford. So anyway, click below, get started. And when you do, it's going to take you to the form where you can fill out your contact information and your billing information. And in addition, if you need more than that, you can always reach out to me and talk to me if you want to talk to me individually at some point there. But really, that form is just going to kind of get you started. And like I said, you get started by clicking below. And then when you do get started, you're going to get the welcome email and your login information, and you'll be able to dive into that first lesson right away. But they are going to, what they call drip out, right? So you're only going to have 1 week, one lesson a week, and that gets, that you're able to access. And the reason for that is that, I don't want you to hurry through this. I want you to really dive in and really get to the meat of it. So spend some time every day on this. And you'll find that you've got that you're gonna get a lot further with that. So so I guess finally you're gonna have all the resources that you need here. So the only thing you can do is just click and get started. And I'd love to guide you through there. And when you get into our Facebook group, I'll be there and I'll greet you there, and we'll make this happen. So thanks and congratulations on your book, and I wish you all the best.